Good evening, welcome to the Monday Fan Zone show. My name's Phil. You're watching this live. Get your views in, get your comments in. Let us know what you want to talk about, anything to do with Leicester City. There has been just a little bit of stuff starting to happen at the club. I know we're in pre-season, but it's good news because Monga has signed. I know he's a young lad, but there's a lot to talk about today. We're going to be joined from Chris from Leicester Till I Die very shortly, but we want your views, we want your comments. What do you want to talk about? All things Leicester City tonight. Get them in and we'll chat about it.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
Yes, good evening and welcome. Lots and lots of bits to talk about, and we want your views and comments. As ever, we can get them on screen. So let's get the first. Andy says, good evening. How are you, Andy? Hope you're well. What do you want to talk about tonight? Matty, where are you watching from tonight? What's your latest views? Mary, good evening to you. Hope you're well. Craig as well, good evening. All Leicester City fans, he says, great news today about all the new contracts given. Monga, I think, will be the talking point tonight. Ben says, yes, Monga tied down so we can get some money when Rudkin sells him to Chelsea. What's that in 2 years, Ben, probably. Tony says, getting players on no driver or route. Where we're heading, and this is what Tony's saying there is what a lot of fans will probably echo, I think, tonight. So he goes on to say, good evening to you, Richie. Hope you're well. Pre-season match against Fiorentina. Good news about Jeremy Monga signing a new contract along with 8 other youth players. I think the youth is where we want to go. And he goes on to say, great news on Monga signing a new contract. Wayne, good evening to you. Hope you're well. Watch views and comments. I've just put it in there and I'll now. If you do want to come on screen and tell us your views, I've just shared the link in there. But if not, just keep commenting. Carl is watching from Cyprus. Thanks, Carl, for watching. Hope you're enjoying it out there. Michael as well, good evening to you. Now, I'm going to add Chris in, but I do want your comments coming in. So Chris is joining us from Leicester Till I Die. Good evening, Chris. How are you?
Good evening. Very, very good. Just returned from holiday. Thank you very much for having me on.
As always, Chris, it's a pleasure. And yes, you've just got back from Lanzarote, which I hear you were saying just before we came on, it was very nice.
Very nice and very hot. And I've come back to nothing but rain down here. So not happy to be back, but there we go.
Andy says this. I know, Chris, you were wanting to know as well. You thought you'd come back from holiday and there might be some news on the manager. I'm just beginning to suspect, Chris, that either we're going to make a change on July the 1st or it's going to be Ruud. I know that's pretty obvious to say that, but where do you go with the manager situation at the moment?
I wish I had a crystal ball. I mean, if Ruud stays and suddenly turns us into sort of, prime Real Madrid, then we'll all be thinking, yeah, what a great manager. He was just sort of bedding in and what have you. I can't see it somehow. I think when you look at him, I think for the sake of the squad, everything is so negative around the club. Well, remember last time we went down, the fact that, when Enzo came in, it gave us that lift. It was like, wow, this is the guy, that 6 days before was holding up the Champions League trophy. He's been sprinkled by Pep dust. It gave us that sort of good feeling. And I think that's what we need again. I hope it's not Ruud, personally, but like you, I just can't believe that we've let this guy go back to his family and he still has no idea what's going on. I mean,
and he openly says that, Chris. He openly says that in the press. Yes. He said to the media he doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly. And either, A, we're waiting sort of July the 1st when it's the new PSR year, or we are literally being run like Billy Smart Circus, and I'm not sure which it is.
Yeah, again, Tony says here, if it is Ruud, why not announce? That's the bit I don't get. I mean, Ruud is the manager. He still is. So they kind of don't need to come out and say Ruud's the manager. But it wouldn't hurt if they were going to keep Ruud. It wouldn't hurt them, Chris, just to say, everybody calm down. It is Ruud for next year. So crack on, and we're back in training in 3 weeks. And look, we've signed all these youngsters today. That's because they want to stick around to be with Ruud. You can spin these things, Chris.
We can
make it a positive.
You know, we're right aboard the Titanic heading for the iceberg at the moment, and nobody seems to know what's going on here. So I feel like Leicester City is like, the long lost brother of the Labour Party at the moment. Nobody's behind the wheel, nobody's steering it. Why not just come out and say? I mean, it takes me back to when we got relegated last time. And at the start of the season, we were all expecting a rebuild and Brendan was going to get all these new players in. And then nothing happened. And nobody knew what was going on until transfer deadline day shut and ended. And I think we were playing Man United, We were certainly playing on the night of the transfer deadline closing.
Yes.
When Top finally put in his notes about, the UEFA and, the FFP and what have you. And we all sort of went, oh, yeah, now we understand. If he'd said that at the start of the season, we would have all said, we understand where you're coming from. But we didn't. We had 2 or 3 months of resentment building up, and that's what we're getting here.
Yeah, it's that lack of communication. I mean, Chris, in the meantime today, let's look at some good news, which it is good news. Jeremy Monga has signed, because there was a lot of talk about, teams like Man City or Chelsea coming in for him, even at this age, and maybe paying some money or getting him free because of this when they turn 16. But he has signed, I believe the right words are, he signed a scholarship with the academy today for 1 season, and then next summer, he can sign full professional contract potentially. But I think many fans will be here tonight going, that's good news, Chris. That's what, if we're going to put a line in the sand and start looking forward, that's something to look forward to, isn't it? Jeremy Monga.
Totally. Like you say, why aren't we spinning this? And if well, it is true, because it's been announced now, and this is down to Ruud. As much as I don't want him at my club, if he's the one that has been talking to him and got him into, which apparently, again, he said he was going to do, fair play to Ruud. I give him credit for that. I was screaming last year that we had this talent on board and we could lose him and it would go to a tribunal, and we all know how they end up. But we weren't even playing. And I said to Rob Tan, I said, well, surely if we start playing him, that works in our favour when it comes to the tribunal. And he was saying, yes, it does, blah, blah, blah. So this is absolutely fantastic news. We all know he's going to move on. We all know we'll probably end up going to somewhere like a Chelsea on a 20-year contract, or Man City, and he'll end up, out on loan at a League One or League Two club, etc., and that will be the end of his career. But let's look at the positives. We've got him for a season. It's going to be a difficult season. We may have a points deduction, as someone just said in the chat. We're going to need these youngsters, possibly.
Yeah, and I think that's right, Chris. And I think, like Wayne says here, I think the club's run poorly. We're all like mushrooms kept in the dark and fed on shite, he says here. Yeah. Taito, watching on YouTube, says it's great. It is great news today. Well, happy in there. Dale says if Ruud stays, then HW Harry Winks, he's on about Dale, says we'll be gone. We'll come on to that in a minute. Tony says here, problem may be nobody wants a job with all the PSR issues, which again, and there is definite talk this time, Chris, of a 8 to 12 point deduction. I think it's probably is going to come this time, isn't it?
I think so, and this is going to sound strange, but I hope so. Because let's just take it and let's just accept it and get on with it. We've got more matches this season to try and get it back. Let's behave properly, and they may give us a couple of points back. I I just think it's just gone on, and I'm fed up about reading about it. We've been naughty. We know we have. We got away with it because of a loophole. They actually now close that loophole, and who can blame them for doing that? They're always going to do that. It reminds me very much of, do you know when Chelsea had the transfer embargo under Frank Lampard, and he had to play all the youngsters because he couldn't bring anybody else in? That could be us next season, and it would give us a season of getting these youngsters bedded in against the second tier. Sorry, I've just seen Turf Moorhouse. It's a mate, Dan. Yeah. Dan, the Burnley fan. All right, mate. Give them a season. My only worry is the other players that we're stuck with as well. But
We'll come on to that. I mean, Taito says here, he says, today's news is an example of how the club operates. Like, no fuss, no real communication or pre-communication, just get it done and like it or not. You kind of wonder who's getting people to sign on the paper. I assume we'd probably have to say, much as we all hate it to say it, you might even, for Monga, you might have to say, give Rudkin some credit. He's got his name on the paper because Ruud's on holiday. So, we do wonder who is running stuff.
We know that Top is got other interests, in as much as the King Power organisation. So we know he's not in the country half the time. And look, with John Rudkin, let's be honest with you, if the female toilets in the away end broke, he'd get blamed for that. And you've got to accept sometimes that let's give them a bit of credit. If it is him, or credit to him, he deserves it. And as much as we complain, we've got to remember sometimes they do get things right, and we have to give them credit for that.
Yeah. Adam says that you have to give Rudkin perhaps credit on this one. Fend them off, team's fair play in there. I'm going to add Reese in. He's clicked in as well. So Reese is coming in. Reese, good evening. How are you?
You're right, lads. How are you doing?
Hey, Reese.
Yeah, good. Thanks for clicking on, Reese. And I've shared the link again. If anybody else, it's an open forum. Anybody can click in. Reese, your thoughts today? Monga, do you want to talk a little bit about him signing?
Yeah, great news. I think it's good news about all the other 8 players that have signed as well. So I think that tells you what kind of direction the club are going in with getting all these young signings over the line. I'm hoping that we get to see kind of a young breed of talent next season, not just seeing a load of old heads in the team. I'd like to see the likes of Braybrook, Ben Nelson, Monga, Jake Evans, all of them playing. I'd really love to see it. That would get me on board with what direction the club want to go in. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait for next season.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not there yet, Reese, with you. I don't know about you, Chris, yet. I'm not there yet. I know as a fan, I'm starting to think I need to build up for next season in my head. I need to start to get like Reese is getting excited. Signing Monga today, I think, is a step in the right direction. Chris, I'm even going to go on saying, seeing like a pre-season friendly, okay, it's not Real Madrid or anybody like that, but Fiorentina, I've always liked them as an Italian side. It's time to start to look forward, I think, isn't it, for fans? But just the rude bit niggles away, Chris.
It is, and look, we're going to have had a couple of months without any football. We'd like to have it back, and like you say, I just want, like I said before, I want the points thing sorted out ASAP. Let's get it done before the start of the season, so we know where we stand. And if we don't go straight back up, is it such a bad thing? Yes, obviously financially it won't be as good, but look at Leeds. They missed out last season. They've gone up as champions this season. Maybe, just maybe, they will actually manage to stay up. It will be interesting to see how they get on. But has that year, and a bit like we went down to League One, it was an excuse for a bit of a clear out. I mean, I know things are different with what's going on this time, but it gave Leeds the chance to have a clear out and see where they wanted to go and keep the players they wanted, etc. And maybe that's going to be like that for us. Maybe a season or 2 down there isn't going to be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, Reese, I'm going to push this question to you that armchair jockey is talking about. He's saying signing these young players cannot be followed up by signing overplayed treatment table warmers, which leads me straight into the Ox. Now, there's been some rumours about us signing the Ox, and before I say what I want, and Chris, Reece, what's your thoughts on signing somebody like him?
I've always liked Oxlade-Chamberlain as a player. I think I think he's technically very good, but again, the injury concerns are a big factor for me not wanting to sign him. But if we shift some deadwood on okay wages, I'd take him. I'd take him for a season, because I think in that position, I think that's where we need some players, and I think his experience will help the team as well. I think if you had somebody like Braybrook next to him in the midfield, I think like that could work. But if it's on big wages and we haven't shifted anyone, then I wouldn't really take him. But I'm not against the signing. I'm not against it.
Do you know what, Reece? I find that really interesting how you've just said that, because probably I would agree with you there. I think, Chris, we have quite a lot of people who like our physio bench already and are on big books. So, as Reece has said, if some of those were to go, then maybe somebody like the Ox could come in. But he is injury prone, and I think last time I caught up with him, he's in is he in Turkey or somewhere?
Yeah, Besiktas.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Avoid him like the plague. Although the fact that he's injured and available means we're going to sign him. Haven't we got enough cops at this club? Do we want another one? He's missed. Is it something like over half of his time in Turkey he's missed through injury? Now, is that what we want? Now, look, we all love Ricardo, but would we sign him now with his injury record? Well, yes, we probably would, but we wouldn't want to. Why sign somebody that we're going to be paying decent wages for? Because he's not going to come cheap. Although I think he's on a free, isn't he? So, we save that. No, please, let's just get somebody in that is fit and is going to be playing week in, week out at least, by Leicester standards. No, please. And that's a no for me.
But Reece, you mentioned there about getting rid of some of the maybe overplayed, over-expensive players. Who do you think that we have got that we need to get rid of, or you want to get rid of?
I think obviously Wout Faes.
Playing tonight for Belgium. But...
Yeah, I know, but he's too inconsistent for us. I think we can do better than Wout Faes. Connor Cody, I think big wages, get him shipped off. Bouba Samare. I know Chris likes Harry Winks, but I'd get rid of Harry Winks. I don't like his attitude. Patson Daka, poor striker. I think there's a lot of deadwood there, but I do think though, with these young players, the reason why I mentioned Oxlade-Chamberlain, do you not think these young players need a bit of experience around them? And out of the experienced players we've got, who would you potentially keep?
Go on then. Well, I'll pass that over to you, Chris.
Oh, cheers.
Which experienced players would you? Because I think, like you say, it's great to have a young team, but you do need. I think you need some good seasoned pros in there. But I hear what Reece is saying there, Chris. And when he's talking about Winks, I'm kind of like the guy just didn't want to. Whatever happened, he wasn't playing for us when we needed it. Nor Vestergaard. These players, for me, I've not got that much respect for those two at the moment.
But why weren't they playing for us? Whose fault was it they weren't playing for us? The manager. We've been there with Brendan Rodgers and Soyuncu. And as soon as Brendan Rodgers left, and Dean Smith came in, Soyuncu was brought back and was probably our best defender for those last 8 or 9 games. So this is very much on Ruud's head. Sometimes, and we'll never know the exact real reason. You can say, well, it was this or it was that. But a lot of those names, I agree. I wouldn't want to keep. I mean, probably the few I would disagree with. Yeah, let's get rid of Daka. I mean, what use is he?
Nowhere, Chris. Daka's going nowhere. Nobody will buy him, will they?
Well, this is the problem. So we've got to make the best of what we've got.
So, who else would you let go?
I don't think we can make the best of Daka. I think that's the problem. Samari's got to go. I don't rate him at all. I'd actually, without Faes. Oh God, I hate that man. I mean, all he's doing is taking up somebody else's oxygen. Let's be honest with you, that guy is a waste of space. space. I'd sooner have Vestergaard's dog in the back four than Val Pace, to be honest with you. At least he'd chase the bloody ball. Connor Cody, I would actually keep. I think out of sort of, like we said, Vestergaard, Faze, Cody, we can't let all three go. We've got, a Coley. I'm hoping he doesn't go back to Italy because I like what bit I've seen of him. But Cody, I mean, there's talk about, is it Ryan Bennett being available on a free now?
Oh, God.
Him in January. I mean, come on. I mean, Cody, at least he marshals that defence and he's got that bit of experience. And out the three, like I say, Faze, Vestergaard, and Cody, I'd keep Cody. Harry Winks, I would keep. Let's just remember, 12 months ago, he was probably our best player in that division. Like I say, you can get different managers, and for whatever reason, they fall out with players, they don't like them. But a manager should be able to see what is best for the team. And if that was leaving Harry Winks out for one game because he... I know, them splinters, they are making me off.
There's no splinters there.
These managers should be able to look at that and say, well, all right, look, I disagree with you. I'm going to drop you for one match. Then I'm going to bring you back because the team needs you. But to sort of ship them out, get them, with with training with the youngsters or whatever, it's to me, it's the fault of the manager. I would keep Winks. Skip I'm on the fence about because I've not really seen enough of him this season.
He can probably cope in the Championship, Skip, can't
he? Probably could, in fact, yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed, look, if we can get 9 million for him, then maybe we should because we've got the youngsters coming through and/or Skip and Winks. But Sumare, he excited me with that one game that he had, and apart from that, no.
I mean, just on Ndidi, we couldn't. He was on a free last season and nobody took him. He ended up coming back to Leicester, so I can't see anybody paying for him. Here's one for you again. I'm going to push this on to Reese because Reese, I want to give you a fact. Clibo says here, sell anyone again with only 1 year left. We can't keep having players leaving for free again. I just want to, Reese, I'm going to just give you a stat that we sat down today at work. Instead of working, we were working this stat out. We bought Danny Ward for £12.5 million. Okay, we worked out today he's just done 100 appearances in his total career, but for Leicester it was, I think, about 29 he'd done. So we bought him for £12.5 million. We worked out roughly on his 40 grand a week, allegedly. We paid him £14.5 million for Danny. And I guess the bit of that refers back to what Clibo is saying there is Danny Ward's effectively cost us, I think we worked, it's like £26 million over 7 years we've had him. And then we've just let him go for free. Daka, as Chris wants to get rid of Daka, as I think most Leicester fans would do, but nobody will buy him because he wants too much money. But again, we bought him for 20-30 million. This time next year, Daka's going to go for free. And you've got to think, we let it happen with Yuri Tielemans. We've let it happen with Ian Atchett. We've let it happen a lot. We have to stop doing that, don't we?
Yeah, we need to go back to what made us successful, buying young, cheap talent and selling them on for big fees and stuff like that. But no, I agree with what Uncle Clibo. That's my uncle, by the way, Uncle Clibo. Yeah, that's my uncle. Yeah, shout out to Uncle Clibo. No, I completely agree with what he's saying. That we can't keep making these silly mistakes, buying these players for big money, and then, like you said, £26 million for Danny Ward to sit on the bench, and it needs to stop now. Like the club have not learned the mistake the first time. Can they learn it the second time? I don't know. That's why I'd get rid of the majority of the players. And just quickly on the manager situation, sorry to go off topic, but just quickly on the manager situation, I don't think Ruud's going anywhere. I think with the PSR issues, with it going to the 1st of July, I think it's too late to sack him. And I think that doesn't give enough. I don't think that gives the new manager enough time to work with the players. So I would look, Ruud's made mistakes, but he knows what's going on at the club. He knows who he can rely on. He knows who he can't rely on. And I do think if he's giving his own players the way the way he wants to play his system, not with the likes of Jordan Iron and Bobby Decordova-Reid, I do think he can do something. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't think you can judge the manager too much that's not had his own players.
Well, Chris, I'm going to pass this to you. I know you want to say on that, but I said this last week. I understand what Reece is saying, because I could definitely sit here, Chris, and spin you a marketing strategy that would work why Ruud should stay, just based pretty much on what Reece has said. I know, Chris, I agree, he's been useless before you say it. Probably the worst manager you and me have ever seen at Leicester, but he knows the club. He's embedded. He had a woeful, write that off as woeful. He knows the players. He knows who's a troublemaker. Let him get rid of them. He's got a big players. He's highly respected around Europe, is Ruud van Nistelrooy. He'll get us some names coming in going, I believe in this. So I could spin that to you, Chris, about Ruud.
You could, you'd be totally wrong, but you could try. So Richie said earlier, and he's just come in there and said, I want Ruud to stay. He said to me, said, stop blaming the manager. Stop blaming Ruud for everything. Well, actually, he is the manager. The buck stops with him. You know, I used to be a manager of a sales team, and if that wasn't performing, they didn't get bollocked. I got bollocked. I stood and fell by my decisions. Now, if I had somebody in that sales team that was my best salesperson, but he peed me off every time, whatever, then I don't want to get rid of him. I don't want to shift him off to another department, because it's going to make the whole sales team's figures go down. So it's up to me to get the best out of him. Now, if that's saying, right, go off and have a week off and get your head around things, or give him a special project or whatever, but it's up to me as the manager to get the best out of him. This is a guy that was it 15 games playing the same system with the same players, I'd never changed it. If he'd brought different players in, and say, well, we haven't got many, we didn't have different players. Yes, we did. We had players that were, like you say, that were bench warmers. He could easily have changed things around. He could easily have said, right, well, this is how I want to play, but this is, the players I've got can't play that system. So what is their best system? Let me pick that system and, make it better. If Ruud is so good, why didn't we keep Cooper? Because Cooper was better than Ruud was. Nobody can go that many games. What do they say? The sign of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's what he was doing week in, week out. How many records did we get this? The most games, over nearly 1,000 minutes without scoring a goal. The most games lost. It was all these records that, thanks to Ruud, we've got. And you're saying to me it's not Ruud's fault? No. And I don't care how you spin it. I would not listen to you. I would go off, I'd have a sniff beer and pretend I dreamt it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Chris. I've been there. You brought me back to reality. I understand what Reece is saying, and like I say, I understand from marketing spin how you could spin it. But I'm still with you. I think it was strange, and like you're quite right about the Steve Cooper thing. It's like ludicrous that we give one manager 11 games and a bit of pre-season, and then the other manager gets the rest of the season and he can't win to save his life. Anyway, listen, lads. I'm going to say thanks a lot. We've run out of time already. It's gone really, really quickly. Reece, thanks so much for joining us. Reece, can you make sure you click on again as well, please?
Yeah, of course we will. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, mate. It's been great getting you on. And of course, Chris, just give a big shout out, Chris, to everybody knows you're Leicester Till I Die, but shout out your channels so everybody knows.
Yeah, easiest way to find me is either typing in Leicester Till I Die in any social media that you follow, or LTID TV, and I should pop up.
Lovely. Thanks, Chris. And thanks, Reece. Thanks, everybody, for your comments.
Cheers,
I'm going to let the lads go. Thank you very much. See you, Chris. See you, Reece.
See
you later.
Thanks to both the lads for clicking in there. That's been brilliant to have them on here. Now, just before I go, I need to announce the winner of this competition. Let me see. The winner of a season's worth of Pucker Pies, thanks to our guys at Pucker Pies. People guessed quite rightly. It was bloody obvious. Come on. That was Jamie Vardy celebrating his goal against West Bromwich Albion. So well done to Harry Chetwood, look, there's a photo of him. It looks like he's with Nuge. David Nugent now. Could do a bit of him. So well done indeed to Harry, who won a season's worth of Pucker Pies. We're setting a new competition for more pies. You can never have too many pies, can you? All the pies, it's going to be one of you very soon. We'll be back on Thursday and Sunday, so make sure you keep tuned. And like I said last week, whenever there is anything breaking, we'll go live and we'll have a little chat with you guys about it. So thanks again to Chris. Go and follow him on Leicester Till I Die. And thanks as well for Reece clipping in. But mostly, thanks for all your comments. I'll see you very, very soon. Cheers all.
Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.